this own like thought process of if you don't get this on the first try, you are absolutely just exiled from anything technology. And I didn't.
Welcome back to SimpleTech Media, episode 6.
Woohoo.
Nikki and I feel like we are finally starting to get a feeling for where we're at with our podcast episodes. We were thrilled that last week's was nice and to the point and a lot shorter. And that is our goal with this one as well, to streamline a little bit and to get out some of the extra. And we were talking about this. Nikki and I are both teachers, and we say that all the time, but sometimes people start listening for the first time. So Nikki and I both teach technology classes at a college. And as a teacher, those teachers out there, you repeat yourself over and over and over again because nobody ever listens all at the same time. So you have to repeat yourself. And we see that whenever we're editing, that we have to cut all those repeats out. And I think we're finally starting to remember while we're actually having a conversation that we don't, in fact, need to repeat ourselves 27 times, that we can say it once or twice, and then that should be good.
That's allowed us to keep everything nice and to the point. And my students don't want to listen to me for 50 minutes. So I'm sure people online don't want to listen to me talk for 50 minutes. So we're going to try to keep it nice and concise.
Exactly. Let's start our episode off by talking about some things that we've been pushing ourselves to learn. That's one of our goals here, is to kind of get out of this stagnant place, which is where I feel like I've been, especially I think with COVID since 2020. I've just really noticed how stuck I had gotten in a lot of the same things that we do day in and day out. And so we are pushing ourselves to learn new things. We're pushing ourselves I'm pushing myself to give myself permission to actually take the time to do things that I've always wanted to do. I just don't give myself permission to do it. And that sounds weird. I'm a 41-year-old woman here, not giving myself permission to try out whatever. But sometimes it feels like you have to do the more important things on your task list before you allow yourself to do something that you're interested in. And this has given me the opportunity to say, no, I am going to take the time to learn that. And for some people, it may not be that exciting, but for me, it's been fun getting to learn some new things and really pay attention to some of the new features that I'm seeing just in my day-to-day work, and then some other things that I've been reaching out for. So let's talk about some things that we came across this week or that are in our near future that we're wanting to get hands-on with and get a little bit of knowledge under our belts to be able to improve our skills. Nikki, do you have anything that comes to mind when we think of what we're doing?
I do. Okay, so I actually got the great opportunity to work with some ed tech stuff, which is so exciting.
Nice.
I mentioned this before. My classes, they're all Microsoft based, and I mean, that is my home base. I love Microsoft. Those of you that have watched any of my videos, I feel like you can tell how much I love Microsoft. I feel so comfortable.
That is her comfort.
So comfortable. Although there is a new feature that I just saw today, which we can talk about later, maybe a little plug. But I was so excited that I got the opportunity to try some ed tech stuff, just to put my hand in something that I haven't done before or experienced. And so I actually got to practice some coding skills, some beginning coding skills, just teaching thought processes and how to critical think and work through some of these scenarios using one of those games. And another shameless plug, we have a video coming out about it so soon. So be on the lookout for that. We're going through the process of Tina's explaining this game for us and how to use it, and then really the benefits of what it can be used for, not only in just an educational setting, but you can use this on a day-to-day basis to teach these practices to children. I think, but we said that it was 4+. That was the age that we looked at. I think it was somewhere.
Right. The specific game we used was about a 4+, maybe about 4 to 6 age.
Right. So
I would say,
just getting them understanding those critical thinking skills at such a young age. I mean, we are trying to teach our college students how to critically think. So
Right.
if we could do that at such a young age, that is incredible. And so I'm not going to
Hmm.
spoil the game because
Hmm.
it's so fun and it's so exciting,
Okay.
but I did get to practice that and I loved every single second of it. So be on the lookout for a video coming soon this week for a game on or for an educational technology game.
Yeah, it's for
Mhm.
coding for kids. It's a game that is available on Amazon for that. That's where I found it and that's where I got it. And it's been so much fun for me to get
Yeah.
hands-on with over these last few years. I will say, so you just said that, we try to work with our college students on being able
Mhm.
to think through a process critically. And it's
Yeah.
hard sometimes to get, and I'm not just saying college students because I'm not picking on any specific
No.
age group here, and I fall in this category myself too. Sometimes we're just so
Mhm.
stuck, and I just mentioned earlier, being stuck in a rut, being kind of stagnant and only doing
Right.
what you know how to do, and it can be difficult to push yourself out of that box and to think in a
Yeah.
whole different way. And the game that I played with Nikki, I gave her a set. I have two sets of this specific game. I bring it to my class and I give it to the college students and say, okay, let's look at this from the eyes of a young child and let's think through how we can, learn this
Yeah.
basic coding. And I've had a lot of different reactions in that. Sometimes they really get into it. I'll be honest, if I were in a college class and my teacher brought in a coding game for me to play and I got to,
Mhm.
get hands on and do anything besides,
Right.
sitting there taking notes in the lecture,
Right.
I would be thrilled. And I'm always surprised at the different reactions that I get from
Mhm.
just people in general whenever we talk about it, but specifically in my experience has been with the students, the college age students. And some of them really get into it and they get really competitive with it. They really work well with others. And some of them are so scared to even think about how it could work that they're bored with it before I even take it
Right.
out of the box. And it's so interesting to me to see that difference. And it was fun to bring that out and to see what your take
Yeah.
on that would be. And
It
it
was
was
so
it was a lot of fun.
exciting. It was so good to force that mindset of, okay, I have a problem. I see the outcome. I know what I have to do,
Hmm.
but how do I get step by step?
Right.
How do I get to that solution? And I think it
Right.
means so much. It's impacting my life so much right now because I'm teaching Excel. We're in Excel hardcore right now and we're just doing a
Hmm.
bunch of summary statistics. So count this if it matches whatever you're looking for. And I am having the problem with
Right.
a lot of my students in this section, not just this class, but every time I teach this section, they just get into a rut of just putting in the same thing because that's what we've done before. Well, the same thing we've done
Hmm.
before isn't going to work. And that's what we saw with this game. Well,
Right.
I have to not just
Hmm.
memorize, I go this way, whatever, and I don't want to spoil it. So pay attention to the video when it
Right.
comes out. But we can't just do the same things that we've always done before. Sometimes we have to adapt. And that's where
Right.
really honing in on that
Hmm.
critical thinking and teaching that skill, it is a skill
Hmm.
to learn. And I think that is so incredible
Hmm.
and such a good
Yeah.
tool.
I am such a
Hmm.
big picture person. I want to see, I want to be able to think through it from start to finish. And I think that's just something that is
Right.
just built into me. I don't know that that's been taught to me. I do know that I've had training up until that point that has really
Right.
grown those skills, but I'm definitely a big picture person. That to me, that specific game and being able to look at the big picture of it and teaching kids and having something specific to say, okay, look at the full
Hmm.
thing. You got to figure out how you're going to get from point A to point B. And then now, like Nikki was saying, all right, that didn't work,
Right.
let's stop and adjust. And I think sometimes we get so worried, and I'm falling into this too, doing so many new things right now. And we talked about this a
Hmm.
little bit last week about a little bit of this discouragement and this feeling like we have ourselves on our own timetable that we've established for ourselves. And we're, I feel like this week I haven't been in that
Right.
mindset, but last week I definitely was. And but being able to even start with the kids when they're younger, it's not to me so much about the coding part of it, honestly. It's about teaching them to think from start
Exactly.
to finish through a process, to work with other people from start to finish their process and to not give
Right.
up with it and to continue on there. And I think that skill is
Exactly.
invaluable to people, to not just give up when you come across resistance, but to
Exactly.
pivot, adjust, fix it, move on, and then do better the
Exactly.
next time. And I think
And
that
that's
that's
what
great.
that and even when I did it, obviously when we recorded this and we went through it, in my head, I'm like, I'm a grown woman. I should be able to get this on the first try. Like, this is coding for kids. I'm grown. I have a grown-up
Mhm.
mind. So
Right.
surely, like, this is ridiculous. And I had this own like thought process of if you don't get this on the first try, you are absolutely just exiled from anything technology. And I didn't. As you're going to see, I didn't get it on the first try. And that can be a little overwhelming sometimes to some people because they have such a high standard for
Mhm.
themselves. So it's so
Right.
good to take a moment and just be like, all right, it's okay. We can't just over exaggerate the problem because if we do that, then it's not going to get solved. So that didn't work.
Right.
Let's try to go again, reevaluate the situation, take a deep breath, and then do it again. And I think that
Yeah.
again is so important to teach, especially at such a young age. Hmm.
I love it. And I will be working on editing that
Yes.
video. And editing is one of my things that is not the strongest suit. So I'm having to apply those principles there as well, to say, okay, that didn't work last time. Let's try
Yeah,
something else this time, but to still continue moving forward. And I think it's good to be able to allow ourselves to learn new things and to make
exactly.
mistakes in the process. And that's good. That's not a problem. So that was one thing that we have worked on. And we decided that along the way, as we come across things that we feel a little
Hmm.
bit more confident than we know that the other person does, that we may come up with these challenges or these hands-on opportunities where we kind of walk the other person through something that we have a little bit more experience in. And so this will be our first
Yeah.
video that comes out where we apply that. And you'll see both Nikki and I on the same video. And I
Hmm.
will walk her through this game and she
It's
will play with me.
exciting.
And that will be coming out here very soon. One of the things that I have been working on is my sound. And I know that some people have said, your sound's getting better. So it is getting a little bit better, I think, but it's still not quite there. I've made some adjustments. I'm going to keep working on that. And we are also using a podcast
Hmm.
website that I really like and I really want
Yeah.
it to work for us, but it's been cutting out in the middle of our recordings the last few weeks. And so I'm keeping an eye on that for today. So if you see me, my eyes shifting throughout today and I'm looking down, I'm looking to make sure that
Right.
it's still recording because it keeps cutting us out. But we're using Riverside, and Riverside keeps coming up everywhere. Nikki, you haven't uploaded any of the podcasts to the different hosting sites yet. But I know when I go into Spotify to upload the podcast there, Riverside is part of that
Okay.
whole system. And they even have a thing, record in Riverside and just upload straight here into
Wow.
Spotify. So I know that it's one of those things. I keep seeing all these
Hmm.
people promote it, but for some reason, it just keeps kicking us out right
Hmm.
in the middle. So we're having to watch out for that. And so that's one of those things over the next week or so I do want to pay
Right.
attention to. One of the new things that I've come across over the last couple of weeks is Microsoft's Clip Champ, and I have a hard time saying that one. I had never even heard of it, I'll be honest. Have you ever used or heard of Clip
No.
Champ? I've used it for a couple of videos so far, and I want to love it. I like it. I don't hate it because sometimes I open up an editing software and I'm immediately not interested at all. I To me, I feel like it's a mix between, to me it's a step down from Canva in my opinion, but it's a step above some of the other editing
Okay.
softwares that I've used. Like even using the editing here in Riverside, to me you don't have very much capability, and there is more in
Okay.
Clipchamp that I've seen. To me, it's pretty limited in the graphics and things that it has available for you to drop in, but it's not too bad. So if you haven't tried out Clipchamp and you have access to it, test it out and check it out for some basic editing. But I don't know that I would go out of my way if you have
Right.
something better. Let's transition into our I Spy AI segment. For our I Spy AI segment this week, we thought that we would acknowledge that we are in a time of the year, the school year as teachers. We're looking at a school year here where papers are starting to become due. Research paper season, I always think of the spring semester kind of around this time of year as when research papers are getting done. And I remember in high school, even this was this semester, it was the last semester, that last year of senior year, that I had to write a big research paper. That was a long time ago. I don't know how things still are in schools as far as K through 12. And I'm thinking more, high school for this. But when you're writing a paper, you want to be careful that you're not using AI in an
Right.
inappropriate way. And we've talked about AI the last few weeks and ways that it could be used. We've played around with it a little bit. And there is a difference in using AI for personal use, for things that are not being presented as if they are your own academic or
Right.
scholarly work. And we wanted to make sure that people understand there are resources out there for you that can help you with writing papers. We see things like Grammarly. I've used Grammarly before years ago whenever I was in grad school. I used it one time to just kind of check through at the end and make sure that nothing came up as it being plagiarized. There was no intention of plagiarism that
Right.
I had in that. I was just using it to make sure that my paraphrasing, all of those things had gone through okay. And so, resources like Grammarly can be helpful in that regard, but you want to be careful that it's not doing too much work for you, that it's not changing your writing to where it's no
Right.
longer your writing. And you do want to be very careful about that. And I know there is a lot of talk about AI in the classroom and what's acceptable and what's not. But across the board, I have seen it that scholarly writing really should be from the person
Mhm.
who is presenting it. And otherwise, it is not accurate in saying that you wrote this if or you had a robot write it for you or you had
Right.
somebody else write it for you. So be careful of using those resources like Grammarly in a way that it's changing
Mhm.
your paper to where it's no longer from you. Can you think of any others that would be similar to
I
that, Nikki,
I
besides just
don't
Grammarly?
I don't typically use them.
I never
Yeah,
did really
I
either.
when I was in grad school, I don't even remember off the top of my head what resource we used, but they also gave us a resource like Grammarly that we were allowed to drop
Mm-hmm.
our papers into, and it would check it for us because
Mm-hmm.
we were always
Yeah.
afraid of citing something incorrectly, not trying to
Mm-hmm.
take
Right.
anything plagiarized. We're not trying to do anything like that, but just we made an honest mistake
Mm-hmm.
and then we did something incorrect and it counts it
Mm-hmm.
as plagiarism. And so to avoid any of
Right.
that, they gave us something like Grammarly, just something that we
Mm-hmm.
can check and we can go through and make sure things are
Mm-hmm.
paraphrased correctly. We gave credit where credit was due,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we used, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's fantastic. That's perfectly fine. But if,
Mm-hmm.
again, like you said, you're changing your words or they're completely rewriting it for you, well then that you're taking
Right.
away credit from yourself. Like that's your words are now being gone. So you
Right.
want to make sure that you have still your voice in your papers.
Yeah, we have that too. And so I think I only used Grammarly once. And then I realized that when I went to go upload, back then it was Blackboard and then it all
Yeah,
switched over to Canvas. And we used Turnitin at two of the universities that I went to. And that was the one that we had at the end that we
hmm,
could dump our paper into that. And then it would give us a report to let us know, hey, it's flagging this
exactly.
as being plagiarized, or it's flagging this as being a poor citation. And with your citations, you want to make sure you give credit to
Yeah,
other authors. If they have given you that information and you
yeah,
found it, just cite it. If the school that you're at, whenever you go to upload your paper, if they have the plagiarism software built in that you can dump it in there and run the check yourself before they do
yeah,
it. Check it and see if how it's coming back. And then you may just need to go in
right.
and reword some things and make it work for you. Make sure that you're just using your own wording. And I think that's there's no point in not learning the material yourself and writing your own paper. It can be
Yeah,
intimidating. It can be a lot of work, but there are good results that will come of doing the
right.
work that way and learning what you need to learn from that. And you don't need to resort to pulling from a robot and having them write for you when you need to know the material yourself.
Personally,
So,
I think the hardest part of papers is the citations and footnotes and endnotes. That can
mm-hmm,
be a lot. And so there is AI that will do it for you. And I think that is used perfectly fine because that's not
mm-hmm.
stealing something. You're properly
Oh
giving
yeah,
credit where credit
yeah,
is due. So use all the AI, use all the plugins, get all of your information the easiest way that you possibly can
mm-hmm,
and have the computer put it in there for you correctly. That is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We're
mm-hmm.
talking about the
Yeah,
actual meat of the paper.
the
Yes.
content.
That,
Yeah, but the formatting,
yes,
yeah, use AI for
100%.
format. Let AI set up your
Yes.
sources for
Take
you.
away that
Absolutely.
stress.
The Zotero video that Nikki put together was fantastic. That's a great
Yes.
resource. Let the computer do
Yes.
that part for you. Even Word will do it without having the extra
Exactly.
add-on in there. We'll do it. Again, she talked about that in that last video that she did about the Microsoft. We can add it to this video here if you're watching it on
Exactly.
YouTube. But don't let AI write the content of your paper. It's not worth getting in trouble for. It's not worth getting a 0 on
Right.
an assignment. It's not worth being expelled
Right.
from a school. And you really want to have that knowledge base. It's not fun to go through life not having the knowledge that you're
Right.
supposed to have. So even if it doesn't seem like it's something that you need to know now, all those little things will
Exactly.
be helpful for you as you grow and mature and continue on, and maybe you're in grad school or you're furthering your education, the same thing would
Exactly.
still apply there. I have a tech tip of the week
Mm.
for you, Nikki. You are new to the
Oh, yeah.
TikTok world, and I know that TikTok might be
Yes.
leaving us soon. I have no idea. Every time I see it's like this whole thing, they're gonna get rid of it. I don't know. I don't know about that. But in the meantime, in case you don't know, when you're watching a TikTok, if you want to watch the video but you want to make it go faster, if you hold down the left part of the video screen, it'll start making it go faster. It'll increase the speed to where the video moves faster.
Wow.
So it'll do the speed. I think it'll go up to 2 times the speed. So you can watch it, but just get through
That's awesome.
faster.
I had no idea.
So I think you've been on TikTok like once. Have you
No.
been on there more than once?
I I went like the first time I made one of the reels. I had to text Tina
Uh-huh.
and say, I don't know how to work TikTok. Can you upload this for me? So you uploaded it, and then I went to the TikTok to see it, and then that's the only
Yes.
time that I've been on it. I'm not a I'm not a TikTok person.
Well, it's
Learning.
okay. But if you ever go back again, just hold down the left side of the screen. And when you hold down it, you can just hold it down with your thumb as you
And it
watch your
does
video. Ooh, I think that
double
just
speed.
vibrated the whole thing. So you just hold down the left side of your screen as you watch your video and then
That's
turn it to double speed.
amazing. I didn't know that.